Vampires of a certain age remind their peers and descendants of the golden age of Constantinople, where the Trinity of Michael, the Dracon, and Antonius held sway. These philosophers, a Toreador, Tzimisce, and Ventru, respectively, organized and upheld the vampire utopia of Constantinople. A combination of the Crusades, a Methuselah's mania, and Setite corruption tore the coterie apart. Ultimately, the dream of Constantinople, in which all vampires of disparate beliefs and practices could exist in harmony, shattered. Some still cling to the dream and hope for the Trinity's resurrection in some form. You may still believe the Drakon can be brought back to his former enlightenment, or that one of the new Trinities of Constantinople, or Istanbul, hold the key to the domain's growth and revitalization. Conversely, perhaps you study the disciplines of the Trinity with wary eyes, preparing to take down a colossal threat to all traditions. Within Vampire the Masquerade, there are many overlooked histories, parts that just kind of fade into obscurity. Compared to our own true history in the real world, the manic history of Vampire the Masquerade goes in so many different directions, and the world of darkness stays as shadowed as it ever was. I am Voivode Maquette. Welcome back to our world of darkness, and it is Metaplot Monday. Today, we're going to be going over the Loresheet, the Trinity, which outlines the dream of Constantinople, of having vampires be able to live in relative harmony. A very interesting love story for those of you who want to dig into it. I highly suggest that you do, and we might very well go into that deeper in the future. But for right now, let's see what the Loresheet has to say. By investing 1 point in the Trinity, you get Constantinople. Outside the Ashira, vampire tradition refers to Istanbul as Constantinople. You are one of the few who know why. Constantinople represents everything possible in a city where vampires shared ideas and discussed philosophy without falling to carnage. Once per story, you can ask the storyteller a question about Constantinople's past and be given an accurate answer. I do like how they force the storyteller to know a little bit about it. Now, obviously, these are all optional. A storyteller can start a game and go, no lore sheets, or not these lore sheets, because it's a game. We can do what we want. There's house rules and everything, from Vampire the Masquerade to Monopoly. But if you do want to take into consideration the canon, the skeletal structure that the writers at the World of Darkness have given us, there's so many interesting little plot hooks. And the history of Constantinople is definitely one of those worthwhile events to take into consideration. If you invest 2 traits into this lore sheet, you get Antonius's architecture. Renowned for his architectural skill, both political and physical, the Ventru Antonius built the structure that held Constantinople together. To some, he fathered the Primogen ideal. You study Antonius's methods. You can add 2 dice to any politics dice pool when making tests involving domain government. Once per story, you can mediate and calm any court debate, quashing violence with action or profanity. The idea of studying the methods of Antonius, both his ability to build something physical that holds up true to even today's standards of how a city should be maintained, and also the political leanings that some Kindred historians say was the foundation of the concept of the Primogen Council, is a very important thing. Modern politicians, modern warlords and leaders do this kind of thing by reading The Art of War by Sun Tzu and similar things. Having the ability to learn from those who came before, to stand on the shoulders of giants, is an important thing to do, especially when you're talking about beings that live for millennia. Investing 3 points into the lore sheet gives you the dream. For a millennium, the Trinity practiced Michael's dream, a vision of vampire utopia. Michael encouraged all vampires in Constantinople to learn and seek enlightenment, grow distant from the beast, and become something beyond mere predators. You are a modern exponent of that dream, recognized as a speaker of the dream in your city. You can add 1 die to any insight pool when testing to gauge another's beast. You inspire and calm souls. Once per story, you can spend a willpower point to allow another vampire to re-roll up to 3 die when resisting frenzy. That's actually very interesting. It kind of gives almost a Salubri vibe. But we are talking about Michael's dream, the Toreador. The, I believe, 4th generation Toreador who radiated beauty and love, calming sensations. That is a very nice thing to have in a coterie. There's many Brujah players out there who constantly go on and on about the wonders of Carthage in character and how amazing that was, but Constantinople seems to be one of those things that just nobody talks about anymore. It's interesting considering the ability to give someone else the ability to maintain their own beast. Investing 4 points into this lore sheet gives you the Dracon, or the Drakon. Not really 100% sure how that should be pronounced. I personally think Dracon sounds proper. Of the Trinity, only the Tzimisce, known as the Drakon, survived Constantinople's fall. Passionate and wise, the lover of both Antonius and Michael, and spiritual guide for the Trinity, the grieving Drakon fell silent for many centuries following Antonius's murder. Rumors whisper that the Drakon reemerges now, and with unclear intent. You count yourself as one of his disciples, and likely know how to find him. He counts as a 5-dot mala, assisting with spiritual and discipline matters. A 4th generation Tzimisce, Methuselah, has woken and is in contact with you. This isn't a Tzimisce specific thing. This is a 4th generation vampire who is willing to work with you if you are his disciple. Investing 4 points opens the door to so many possibilities when it comes to this. And I wonder how many people are actually taking it and utilizing it. Because a mala can be very, very important. A 5-point mala. A teacher who can help you with influences, who can help you with disciplines and spiritual pursuits. When the idea of paths of enlightenment finally trickle down into their way of being able to be used by player characters, this may very well come in handy when it comes to that. Investing 5 points allows you to purchase the new Trinity. One night, Michael's Constantinople will be reborn, and you shall assist at the birth. You know this not from fragile ego, but from certain prophecy. You, along with 2 others, who complement your skills without mirroring them, will rebuild Constantinople in a new city. No matter what you must do, if you earned them on the path to bring about the new Trinity, you can remove up to 5 stains per story before making the remorse test. You have driven purpose. You have been burdened with glorious purpose. The idea of the new Trinity being built is something that I can see perking the interest of the Drakon, since he's the only one left. What will you do with that if you take this? Open up a city to all kindred for peace and glory in the name of the Camarilla, in the name of the Anarchs, the Sabbat. There's really no telling what you could accomplish with this kind of thing, especially since you are able to bend your morals to accomplish this goal. The fact that the World of Darkness team has made it so that we have this accessible to us, this ability to be a part of the history of Kindred existence by taking lore sheets, is one of my favorite parts about this game. And I'll always keep saying that. We are getting very close to the end of these lore sheets, however. Just a few more and we'll have to move on to another book, because we're still in the core book at the moment. As a storyteller, have you had players utilize this lore sheet? And if so, what did they take and how did they use it? As a player, I'm also interested in your opinion on how this can be used to further your own personal goals. Because I know when I brought my first character in, I was a headstrong little shit who thought that I was going to become prince and rule the game within a couple months. Never happened. Not with that character, anyway. We learn and we grow. And that's what the Trinity lore sheet is about. Your ability as a character to grow on a spiritual level. Not only for your own sake, but for the World of Darkness in general. I am Voivode Maquette. This is our World of Darkness, and this has been a nice, in-depth look at the lore sheet, the Trinity, for Vampire the Masquerade 5th edition. Good evening.